Today, I'm going to take these potatoes that have been sitting in my pantry for a while and pressure can them into herbed potatoes with onion. Home canned potatoes are honestly so delicious. I love canning up potatoes, and I especially love canning up these golden potatoes. For some reason, they just have great flavor when they're canned. You can can up any sort of potato though. You can do red, russet, white potatoes, or the yellow ones like this. Just know that this recipe is not suited for sweet potatoes. They need to be dealt with a little bit differently for canning, so just stick with any sort of white potato. This day I was also canning chicken, so you will eventually see my canner going with chicken in it. But if you are not canning multiple things a day, you are going to want to get your pressure canner set up and ready and going on the stove, and you want to get your jars soaking in some hot water while you are peeling and dicing up your potatoes and onions. I used 7 pounds of potatoes to fill up 7 quarts. I also used 2 extra large onions, but 4 large onions would work. And then you will eventually see I used some salt and herbs, and we are going to pack these in water. So this is not a dry canning recipe. This is potatoes in water. So if you want to get some water boiling while you are assembling your jars, that would be suggested. I am dicing up my potatoes into 1-inch cubes. This is going to give me the most versatility in the jar for my kitchen. So you can do a lot with canned potatoes. I can probably going to use this most often as a potato soup base, which I will show you guys how I make a potato soup at the end of this video. But you can also use canned potatoes for mashed potatoes. You can fry these potatoes, or if you have an air fryer, you can stick them in there, and you can always bake them too. And what's nice is that they have been sitting in that salt and herbs, so these potatoes have such good flavor when you can them up like this. Once you have peeled and diced your potatoes and diced your onions, you can go ahead and get your jars out of the hot water, hoping that they are clean. They don't need to be hot per se, but they do need to be clean. Go ahead and fill your jars up 3/4 of the way full with potato and onion, just making sure they are all even. So you can hear my canner in the background. It is processing chicken thighs. I already did a blog post about this, so I will post that below. It is also a very easy recipe to do, but I will link that below too. Now it is time to put the herbs and the salt in your jars. When it comes to herbs, just pick green herbs that you like to cook with. So this time I used lemon thyme that I grew in the garden. Lemon thyme is so delicious if you ever want to grow it in your garden. It's very easy to grow. I also used a pinch of oregano and just a pinch of celery seed. I cook with these often. There's tons of green herbs you can use, like chives and parsley and chervil and whatever else you usually cook with. Just 2 to 3 teaspoons a jar will do. Then once all your herbs are in the jar, for quart jars, I put in a teaspoon of salt too. After all that, you can add some boiling water to each jar. You also can use broth if you really want to, but I just used water. I used about 2 tea kettles worth of boiling water to fill all 7 quarts. You are going to want to leave a 1-inch headspace and make sure to debubble very well. Now once your lids and bands are on finger tight, it is time to load up your canner. Again, this is a pressure canner recipe, so you are going to need to follow the instruction booklet to your specific pressure canner to make sure you use this properly. At this point, I have the Presto canner. It can hold 7 quarts for pressure canning, and then I just put the lid on. So we are going to pressure can these quarts for 40 minutes at 10 pounds pressure, adjusting for altitude. Then, like usual, just let your jars dry and cool down on a dry tea towel until the next day. Then you can check the seals and put them up on your shelves. Canned potatoes are so delicious. I actually really like canned potatoes. I give ideas on how to cook this in the link below. Like mentioned earlier, here is a potato soup I made with one of the jars. It is one of the jars, a splash of milk, a few tablespoons of butter, mash them up. I also put a sprinkling of flour to thicken it. We eat Spam in this house, so I fried and crumbled up about 1/4 of a can of Spam, added it to it, and you guys, it was so delicious. So good, so easy. There are so many things you can do with a jar of potatoes. Again, I will make sure the recipe to this is linked below. I hope this video helped you get some potatoes up on your shelf, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.